Think about the most high-profile crimes of the last decade, the ones that dominated the news cycle 24/7. Now, we know the laws changed after these horrific events, but did the way we actually talk about them change? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the shadow of justice. We're looking at the raw data and some chilling real-world cases to see exactly how sexual violence, legal reform, and media representation have collided over the past 10 years in India. We'll find out what actually shifted in the rule books, and, maybe more importantly, what stubbornly stayed exactly the same in the court of public opinion. Let's get right into it.
So, let's kick things off with the elephant in the room, the 2012 Nirbhaya case in New Delhi. I mean, it completely shook the nation to its core, right? It sparked these massive historic legal overhauls. But here is the multi-million-dollar question. Did the media coverage actually change after 2012? Did our attitudes as a society really shift? Or do we just, rewrite the official rule books while keeping all of our old prejudices totally intact?
Right after that tragedy, the Justice Verma Committee was set up to fix India's criminal laws, and they pointed out something absolutely critical. They explicitly said that society desperately needed to dismantle the whole shame-honor paradigm. Basically, we needed to completely rethink how we report on and react to sexual violence. But, well, as you're going to see in this explainer, updating the legal code was literally just step one. The rest of it, a much tougher battle. Let's look at the very first major test of these new laws, the horrifying Shakti Mills case from August 2013. A 23-year-old photojournalist was out on assignment and was brutally assaulted in a deserted mill compound in Mumbai. Now, remember, Mumbai was supposed to be the safest city for women in India. So when this hit the news, it sent absolute shockwaves through the entire political establishment. Everyone was watching to see if the post-Nirmaya framework would actually work. And honestly, the sheer speed of the legal process here was unprecedented. I mean, look at this timeline. The incident happened on August 22nd. Within just 65 hours, the police tracked down and arrested the suspects. Boom. Fast forward to October 14th, a fast-track trial is already underway. And by April 4th of the following year, the death penalty was handed down. When the public pressure was dialed up to 11, the system proved it could actually move with lightning speed. This verdict was a massive, historic milestone. It was the very first time that repeat offenders got the death penalty under the newly amended Section 376E of the Indian Penal Code. You see, 3 of these men had just been convicted of a nearly identical crime in the exact same location just a month earlier. So that triggered this brand new repeat offender rule. The law had officially grown some very sharp teeth. All right, so the courts stepped up. But what about the rest of us? What about the media? Fast forward almost a decade, and this massive research study, supported by the UNFPA and Population First, finally asked the hard question: did the news media actually change how they operate? Researchers pored over coverage of major cases across 6 different languages just to see if that toxic shame-honor paradigm was actually gone. And what they found was pretty bleak. It's a tale of 2 entirely different approaches. On one hand, you have what journalists should be doing, sticking to the facts, the legal process, the medical evidence. But on the flip side, you have what they are actually doing. We're talking sensationalism on steroids. The study showed the media was still treating these real-life horrors like cheap thriller movies. They prioritized pure voyeurism over actual forensic reporting. They'd fixate on what a victim was wearing or why she was out late, entirely deflecting attention away from the people who actually committed the crime. Take the 2016 Jisha case in Kerala as a prime example. A young Dalit law student was brutally murdered in her own home. But instead of focusing on the glaring systemic failures that let this happen, the media decided to put the victim on trial. They totally invented this boyfriend myth. They actually started questioning if she was, quote, man-friendly, basically trying to spin this horrific crime into some sort of tragic lover's quarrel. It's just wild. And this brings us to a really critical blind spot. The media consistently erases who these victims actually are. In the Jisha case, 14 out of the 16 news stories analyzed completely ignored her vulnerable Dalit identity. In the 2018 Kushmandi case, they totally sidelined the victim's tribal background. And in the 2020 Hathras case, sure, they mentioned the victim's Dalit identity, but they conveniently forgot to mention the dominant upper caste status of the attackers. It's like the media actively protects the privilege of the perpetrators while totally stripping away the lived realities of the victims. Now, when the media acts like this, it just feeds right back into the legal system. They end up acting as a megaphone for institutional victim blaming. I mean, look at this 2021 case from IIT Guwahati. A high court order actually granted bail to an accused student by stating that both the victim and the attacker were, and I quote, the state's future assets. Let that sink in. And how did the media handle it? They just copy-pasted the statement. They ran stories praising the accused's brilliant academic career while making sure to point out that the survivor had been drinking. Okay, let's step away from the spin for a second and look at the cold, hard numbers. 31,677. That is the official number of cases reported across India in 2021 alone, according to the National Crime Records Bureau. If you break that down, that's 86 incidents every single day. And remember, guys, that's just the number of people who actually went to the police. The real number is undoubtedly much, much higher. So what is the actual reality beyond the flashy headlines? News channels love to obsess over the whole stranger danger angle, the mysterious attacker jumping out of the shadows in an abandoned mill. But the data tells us something completely different and, honestly, a lot more terrifying. The vast, vast majority of perpetrators are people the victims already know. We're talking family members, friends, neighbors. But that doesn't fit the neat little thriller narrative, does it? So the media just glosses right over it. Which brings us to the big, lingering question I want to leave you with today. Can we ever truly protect people if our media and our society are still hopelessly stuck in that same old shame-honor paradigm? Because, let's be real, stricter laws and fast-track courts are absolutely crucial. We need them. But they just aren't enough if we don't fix the toxic lens we use to view survivors. We literally have to demand better. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep questioning everything, and I'll catch you next time.